your phone does. So we can watch this on your TV at home. Just plug the jacks into the side or plug it into your computer and watch it on the computer, either or. Or your camera. I've done a lot of Christmas videos and stuff with the kids on these, and they turn out really, really good.
Yeah, stay towards the front, everybody, so you can hear me a little bit better, because we're going to take off. We're not going to wait for any more. I'm not going to try to fill this bus up. Hey, I got to introduce myself. My name is Gordy. Hey, Gordy. I'm actually a cowboy from eastern South Dakota. I wear khaki pants. Now, my kid's on the farm, and my wife and I travel. We live in a motorhome, and we ended up out here at Crazy Horse this summer. This is on my wife's bucket list. She wanted to do the Volks March. You can walk up and down one time a year, and this is in June. And you'll maybe hear more about it. I'll talk more about that later. Right now, stop. I want to show of hands. Who saw the movie inside, the 20-minute clip? Okay, not very many of you. The ones that did not see it, when you go back in, it's nice and cool and dark in there. It gives you kind of heads up what we're doing. A lot of the questions that you got in your head were probably answered in that movie. The ones that did see the movie, you're going to see this is like chapter 2. You're really going to enjoy it. Right now, we're a mile away from that mountain. We're going to go down the bottom and around on the bottom, on the backside, within 1,000 feet. You're going to see how big this thing is. I don't try to compete with this diesel motor. We have no PA systems in these buses. So I'll talk as we go down the hill, and I drink as we go up the hill. Let's get going. I've got enough baloney. I got tons of things to tell you. First thing I want to talk about is our sculptor. His name is Korjak Jokovsky. That's a good Polish name. Starts with a Z, it's pronounced with a J. No one can pronounce it or spell it. But he's been gone now for 30 years. His wife, Ruth, runs the show here. She's 86 years old. I mean, runs it. There's 240 employees here. She does the payroll. She does the time schedules. She's the head of the foundation. She's even the postmistress here at Crazy Horse, South Dakota. Works 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Very late. All of us employees, so we all call her Mrs. Z. She wants a little more respect than Ruth. I understand that. And no one can pronounce Chukovsky. So, my story. We get going over this cattle guard here. I'll be talking about Korjak. That's his first name. And Mrs. Z. First thing we know about Korjak, orphanage, age 1, Boston area. He was in a couple foster families, kicked around as a kid. Trouble teen, age 16, a judge takes him in, trying to put him on the straight and narrow. The man had no training to be a sculptor. He was self-taught. He was just gifted. He was an artist. I never know who I'm talking to at this point. Maybe somebody in here is an artist. I pick up a rock, I just see small rocks. I don't see faces. Korjak had that kind of talent. The only time he had any training outside of his own trial and error, he worked one summer out here in the Black Hills with another odd name for South Dakota, Morgan, as a man who sculpted Mount Rushmore. Them two worked together one summer. They butted heads. At the end of that, Korjak went back to the East Coast for another 9 years. Continued to sculpt, World War II, sculpt some more. Okay, I'll give you some background now. Now the dream begins. 1939, Henry Standing Bear from the Black Hills writes a letter to Korjak in Connecticut asking him here to come to the Black Hills and build some sort of tribute to the American Indians to show them that they had heroes too. 1940, Korjak accepts the challenge and he comes out to the hills. This wasn't always destined to be Crazy Horse Mountain here. Korjak come out and looked in the hills all over. He had to find the right mountain, the right rocks, the right piece of ground, something for sale, something reasonable. This is where he ended up with. This was no-name country. That was a no-name mountain. He actually named it Thunderhead Mountain because there was a thunderhead behind it the day he bought it. Some of this belonged to the Forest Service. Some of it was privately owned. Some of it was just mining claims. I'm going to boil it all down. He horse traded and swapped and ended up with 1,000 acres here. I come out on my wife's bucket list to come out here and work out here this summer. I had a lot of questions when I came. So I'm going to kind of give you the answers that I've learned, some of the questions that I've wanted to have answered. This 1,000 acres. Korczak's family does not own this. That was one thing I wanted to know. Does Korczak still own this? No. He put it in a foundation right away. Crazy Horse Memorial Foundation. It's a non-profit. Does any tribes own this? No. Tribes didn't have any money in 1940. What was the price of all this? That's never been disclosed. I'm sure it was cheap. I mean, this is Forest Service ground. This was wild country here 70 years ago. I mean, this was nothing on it. There was no roads, no water, no electricity, no nothing. All I know is that after Korczak bought this, he only had $174 to start on that monument. That's all he had left. He had enough capital to buy this thing. Another question I had on my mind, maybe it's on yours too. What's the estimated time this is going to be done? I hear this over and over and over. But I had the same question when I came out too. All they're telling me, people, it's going to be done on a Thursday. That's all I know. It could be a lot of Thursdays out. But you're going to learn as we go down like I have this summer. Why it's taken so long. Number one, it's huge. That face up there is 9 stories high. And again, if you haven't seen that movie, most of us have not. Make sure you do see it. Because all 4 faces, I'm going to give you some references of Mount Rushmore fit in the side of this face. And this is going to have a horse underneath, it's going to have an arm underneath, a mane underneath, and it's going to be 3D. This is absolutely huge. And anything I say about Mount Rushmore when we go down and around and back, it ain't negative. I'm from South Dakota. I love Mount Rushmore, and that's a national treasure. I go up there every 2 years. In fact, this summer I've been up there twice. I'm just using it for reference only. Okay, back to the time frame. 1940, piece this together. 1948 was the first blast. It was right up here, right by the forehead. Poof, just a little one. Because this was all rock shed. 1948. The only ones that were working here was Mrs. Z and Korczak. There was no money for anything else. 1951. This is another question I had. I'm answering my own questions again, over and over. This was important to me. Why is that painted on there? Why is it horse's head painted? 2 reasons. Korczak knew that he'd never get this done in his lifetime. This is a man that knows rocks. You want to know an estimated time? He knew right from the beginning this was going to take several Thursdays to get her done. He knew he would never see it done. But he is brilliant. He could see that face in the mountain. All I see is just more rocks. I don't see the horse's head there yet. So whoever was to follow, whether it was going to be Gordy or whoever, they needed measurements. So the top of that ear is for measuring coordinates. So that people from behind to follow would have a plan. The second reason that he wanted that on there, he wanted this by the people, for the people. This is not a federal project. Never will be a federal project. He thought if people went by and they could see, okay, now I see what you're going to do. I can see the rough draft. It's kind of like I go out and scratch directions on the gravel with a stick for you. You can figure out how to get to Custer, South Dakota. Okay? He thought if people went by, they'd say, oh, I see now. Can I contribute? Can I give you money? Can I give you some equipment to work with? How about some dynamite or whatever? But it didn't work out that way. People went by, and here they've been waiting 11 years. Everyone's impatient, just like Gordy. A lot of people like you, everyone's this way. Korczak! We've been waiting 11 years. I thought you were going to carve them on. It looked to me like you just painted it. He got more negative responses. But before we leave right here, I got to tell you how they painted it. I think the story's cool. Again, Korczak's been dead now for 30 years. But I got out of this spring, and again, I told you I had to ask a question how they painted it. But Mrs. Z tells a story. She said all the ones working there was just them 2 lovers. Korczak hung from the top with a rope. 1951, by himself, painted that up there. That stripe is 6 foot wide. He painted 174 gallons of white paint by himself. Mrs. Z said her job was, she was up in Welcome Center where we started out with bus, and she said, I had a looking glass. Well, I'm sure that looking glass was a telescope. She's 86 years old. She said, I had a two-way radio, Korjak had a two-way radio. I had all Korjak's measurements up there, and she guided her man from up there a mile away. Korjak listened on his radio while he's painting, hanging, swinging in the wind, you know. Korjak to the left 3 inches, to the left. And that's the truth. That's how they painted that in 51, and 2 of them. He wanted it perfect because it had to be from Asian coordinates. And the boys still use that today. This has been repainted a couple times since 51. That's not true. They still use the old man. Why the Black Hills people? It had to be here. This was always the sacred ground of American Indians. This was their pahasa. This was their holy ground. 1868, our government signed a treaty with them. It says as long as the trees have leaves and the grass grows, well, always be the home of the Native Americans. Yeah, you bet. 2 years later, the white man found gold and we took it away. Can you see we had to right some wrongs here? Another one too. I didn't even realize this till I come out here this summer. I'm a native South Dakota. I love Mount Rushmore. But what a kick! Here we put 4 white American presidents on their holy ground. You see it had to be here? Korjak, our sculptor, actually, he wanted to have this in Wyoming. He said that he knows rocks. He said the rocks and granite are better there. No. The native leaders said it had to be there. This was our home. Korjak was offered $10 million twice to make this a federal project. He refused. He told our government, you've broken every promise with the American Indians. Why would we believe you now? And I think he was right. I went up to Mount Rushmore's tour 6 weeks ago. I want to learn as much as I can. This is much more than a bucket list job out here now. My wife and I are very, very passionate about what goes on here. We're real cheerleaders for what we're doing here. Mount Rushmore was supposed to have taken 6 or 7 years to complete. It took 14, and they downsized the project. Why? Budget cuts. What would have happened here? This would have been budget cut. This would have been downsized. Or not. This is what Korjak wanted. He was offered $10 million the second time to make this a federal project. Think about it, people. You know what the economy we have the last 5, 6, 7 years here. What would happen here? I don't think Gordy had a summer job out here. This would have been slowed down. This has been. Korjak was right. This could not be a federal project. Okay, people on this side, take a look now when we get around these trees. Getting bigger yet? Think about all 4 faces of Mount Rushmore just on the side of this face. We got all this mountain. And you people on this side over here, don't worry, Gordy will take care of you. We're going to get down, and you're going to get primo seat coming back. I'm going to make sure that you get a good look too. They're up there working today. They're not pushing their rock up. A little more. I got tons of trivia. I got hours of trivia. Okay, right now we only get our money from admissions and donations. Korjak knew eventually people would want to get on board and be part of this. We have 1.5 million visitors here annually. Run that through your calculator. We've had better than $10 million in donations since 2007. 2012 was by far the best year we've ever had. We're just getting slammed. And think about how this keeps networking out. When you people leave, you go back to your homes. And you'll tell more people, and next year it'll be better. Korjak was right. It's by the people, for the people, and it's working very well. More trivia. We have 8 guys up there working. They work up there like they are now every day they can, year round. 8 guys. In knock off 60 truckloads of rock a day. We blast every 7 to 10 days. I'll talk more about it later, but we have a blast tomorrow. But I don't understand. I'm a cowboy, east and South Dakota. I'm used to doing things cowboy style. Why don't we knock off 600 truckloads a day? Why isn't there 88 guys up there? Let's get it done on a Thursday that Gordy can see this finish. I still didn't understand when I come out in the spring. Korjak left in writing for his boys. Go slow, do it right. He signed his name. Didn't say much more about it. I still don't understand. My wife would come out, maybe you'll see her in a restaurant later. Her name is Ruth Ann. She's hostess with us. She said, Gordy, chill. She said, it's just like in the motorhome. We both do some cooking in the motorhome. And she said, if the recipe for the cake is 350 degrees in 60 minutes, I recalculate, like farmer and cowboy. 500 degrees at 42 minutes is the same math. She says, no, it's not. Your cakes are always bad. And she said, think about that simple analogy, and that's kind of woke me up. Korjak knows rocks and mountains. My wife knows cakes. If you start taking 600 truckloads off a day rather than 60, what would happen? The rocks would shift, it'd fracture, we'd probably have a mess. Just like my cakes at 500 degrees. So you think about that analogy when you go home to where we had people ask, why is it taking so long out here? So number one, it's huge. Number two, money was a real problem to start with. There wasn't any crew here. Number three, we're going slow. We're doing the mountain at 350. You guys get my drift. I hope you do. Another one here too. We measure twice, cut once. I grew up with that on the farm in eastern South Dakota. People, before they do any big blasts, they come down here and touch up and double check all their measurements for the levels and tape measures like you use on your garage. We're measuring twice, cutting once. We're doing a great job. We're going slow. We're doing right. Think about this, and if you're up there and you're blasting, they blow off half of a horse's ear when they get to that point. There ain't enough Gorilla Glue to put it back up there. Yeah. But we're doing it right. The more money we get in, there's some things we can go faster do, but for the most part, we have to do them out in the 350. We can do more humanitarian stuff. We can do more scholarships. We can do it with better tools. It's going to take some time. Okay, you people on this side, I'm going to soon be taking care of them, and they're going to get the shots. It's going to be 3D. Take a look. It's going to be in the round. There's going to be a horse's head and hoof out the front. There's going to be eye and ear on the right side. There's going to be a lake down here in the bottom when this is done. Walk the welcome center. Take a look at the overall plan. The big deal now, as I turn around here, people, it's the last chance. Can you see the face? This is gets stripped from my trigger every time I come down here. I can't see the face. Put that in perspective, it's like Mount Rushmore. This thing is huge. Okay, I told you, Gordy, I will stop the bus. So just, you can hang out the windows if you like on the side. You were patient. Take a look at that. It's going to be 3D. It's going to be in the round. It's going to be the largest sculpture in the world. I was up on the arm a week ago Saturday. That arm is about a football field long, but it's only 30 feet wide now. It's no wide. The top of that arm is no wider than the length of this bus. Oh yeah, he's right. This way, just a hair. Right there. That's a great kill. That's too much, maybe. It's overshot. Right now. Now. Another one. Now. Okay.
When he does ours, because he'll have theirs come out, mine doing our first this is a focus.
Okay. Right now.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to bring you in just a hair more, maybe. Wait for it to reboot. Now. Got it. Anybody else? Get some more pictures there. Hey, it's a big group. Got a camera for me, though. Yeah, don't make her hobble over to me. Oh boy, this one's hard to see. I absolutely cannot see on this one. I absolutely cannot see. Punch it. We'll try it. I don't know if I got anything on that one. Let's see. Let's try this one. And if this next one works out, you make sure you charge them all $1 for the picture, okay? Oh, I can see in this one fine. Okay, here we go. How about this group? 1, 2, 3, crazy horse. 1, 2, 3. Crazy horse!